check in and see how everybody's doing. And one way we have of doing that is, if you remember in our last town hall, I mentioned that we had distributed a student survey. We had some students that responded, but the intent of the survey was to really find out how everyone is doing and what your needs are out there. We don't have the ability to meet you face to face anymore, so we have to be able to reach out using the tools that we have, and that would include meetings like this as well as surveys. So if you haven't yet taken a look at that student survey, check your email. We'll send out the link again, and hopefully you can respond to us so we know what your needs are. We're trying to make sure you have what you need to get through the end of the semester, and that really encompasses a lot of different things. I wanted to first start off with the fact that we are waiting for federal funding to arrive. It's the CARES package, if you have heard that acronym. The name's not as important as the fact that we're going to be able to get some money in your hands, and we're working every day to see what we can do to expedite getting that federal funding out to all of you that basically have been on financial aid or have qualified for financial aid. For those that haven't basically filled out a FAFSA or been on financial aid, we may ask you to fill out a short form to give us specific information to see if we can qualify you for the money that we do receive. Just to give you a round number, um, Reedley College is receiving about $2 million that we can distribute to students. So we're hoping to get this out as quickly as possible to you, as I said. Related to that, I wanted to mention that we're going to have a food pantry event in parking lot B on April 28th from 11 to 1 p.m. And the idea is you can drive in, just verify you have a student ID number, and we can basically put a parcel in the trunk of your car, and you can basically benefit from our food pantry by simply driving up and participating in that way. George, do you have any additional thoughts about the event on April 28th?
Nothing new. We're just very excited to be able to do this. And this won't be the only time we do it. We'd like to do it up to once a week if we can. We're going to have an extra um, order a little bit more food than normal so we can serve more students. We will have volunteers who will be wearing masks and gloves. And this is for Reedley College students only, including dual enrollment students, all eligible to come and get a box of food. We'll have hopefully enough food for about 100 students, hopefully more. And as we do this event, hopefully we'll see the demand and continue to serve and even build it and grow it as we go along. So we're just excited and happy to help our students with this effort.
Yeah, just so students know, our board of trustees are very interested in helping serve your needs, and they've been helping specifically trustee Gomez, Magdalena Gomez, has been reaching out to our local legislators to look for additional contributions of money that we can then go to the Central Valley Food Bank and actually purchase additional resources for you and distribute them to you. So for those that are having difficulty feeding yourselves or feeding your family, this is one additional resource that we have for you. And so whether you walk up to the food pantry on days where we're not offering a parking lot distribution, or whether you basically participate in these parking lot events, we hope to get this resource out to you. And if you've never used the food pantry before, this is meant to be available to any student, as George said. So whether you're a dual enrolled high school student or a regular face-to-face student on campus, please come and take advantage of this resource. Um, let's see. There's another important bit of information for me to pass along to you this morning. The federal government is discussing committing $9 billion. Let me say that again, $9 billion to address rural internet service. Now, we don't have a commitment on that yet, but I think we all know the difficulties we have in communicating with you in terms of your Canvas courses and whatnot if you don't have internet access at your home. So please share with your fellow students and friends that it looks like the government, both the federal government and the state government, are looking for ways to basically address what we call the digital divide and enhance your service so that you can have better connectivity to the college and to your instructors for the purpose of continuing your education. Remember that just as a quick update, we are planning summer school to be completely online, but we don't know yet what fall will look like. The data that we've received, and please be aware that our health data seems to be updated on a daily basis, and conditions change as our researchers make strides towards developing better testing and potentially a vaccine and other things that'll help us return to normal. We are going to keep listing our classes for the fall as face-to-face, but we're going to have to modify that based upon what conditions are present for fall. So right now, what I can tell you is that summer will be online and fall will be face-to-face as far as we know right now. But we're going to continue to send information to you to keep you updated. Another area that I wanted to address is commencement. Remember, we spoke about this at the last town hall meeting where we talked about the recommendation that came from the survey that most of you participated in was that we postpone the face-to-face commencement until the end of the fall semester. So we've currently uh, tentatively approved a December commencement date, while we're also going to have an online celebration in May for those that choose not to participate in the December event. Now, again, that December event is going to be contingent upon appropriate health conditions. Whether or not the virus is still a problem or not will determine whether or not that event takes place as scheduled. We may choose to move the dates based upon the information that we get in the future. But for now, we're focusing on May's virtual recognition of our graduates. And so to participate in that, we'd like you to send in your picture and comments from your family and friends that we can post with your picture to celebrate recognition of your achievement this year. George, would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. We are taking, or I need to establish an email address. I could use an old Reedley College public information email address to gather those photos, in which we have a nice border created by Leah Unruh, who's our graphic designer. So it's not just going to have a photo, it's going to have a border with our logo, your name, congratulations, class of 2020. It'll have your major on it as well. And it will also ask for information about where you're transferring to. So I can write like a little quick mini bio, congratulations to like Stephen Kodor on your success at Reedley College and good luck at your next stop, which would be over Fresno State or Fresno Pacific or something like that, something really quick. And we'll be doing that throughout the month of May to recognize and honor students as much as we can, considering the circumstances.
So just to recap, we will commit to offering a face-to-face event sometime in the next academic year. But for now, we're also going to offer the opportunity for you to have recognition of your achievements this year through a digital packaging and display of your picture and other commencement related activities. So we're working on it right now. Our committee is meeting this week to make further recommendations to me, and we're going to make this as nice as we can, and we're going to basically again have the opportunity for you to participate face to face in the near future. At this point, I know there's also been a lot of questions from students to help clarify dates related to certain things that have come into being because of the COVID-19 emergency. If you remember, we've been given approval through the State Chancellor's Office to authorize what are called emergency withdrawals from classes, in addition to offering many of our classes in a pass, no pass configuration. For an update on that, I'd like to invite our Vice President of Instruction, Dale Van Dam, and our Academic Senate President, Rebecca Snyder, to join me and make some comments and give you some updates on those particular activities. Dale and Rebecca?
Yes, I think Dale might be in another meeting for the first half, so he had sent me some notes to talk about. The college understands how, and your instructors understand how difficult this has been. It's difficult for everybody, and we don't want this to negatively impact your academic progress. We want you to keep it, stay in your classes if you can, be successful in your classes if you can. But we also want to give you some grading options that uh, minimize the impact of anything that happens. And so one of those grading options is the emergency withdrawal grade. There's a deadline to apply for this all the way through the 15th, and we're even working on maybe extending it past that. So basically all the way to the end of the semester. So students can basically stay in their classes all the way through the end of the semester. And then if they find that they weren't successful, they can take an emergency withdrawal, which doesn't have any impact on their GPA. There might be the possibility of getting some enrollment fees applied to the next semester. There are some potential negative impacts for students who maybe need to maintain enrollment. Student athletes would be one example. There might be some negative impact on people who are receiving financial aid. So it's really important. We think we've fixed that, but it's really important to talk to a counselor before you take that option. For those students that the emergency withdrawal isn't a good option, there's also the option of taking a class for pass, no pass. And this is a grading option that's been available for a while on some classes, but we're extending it to more classes. But it's really complicated, and students really need to talk to their counselors about this. What it does is it changes failing grades to a no pass and passing grades to a pass. And the problem is CSUs are accepting it, but the UCs might. There are a lot of complicated things. This is an area where it might help your GPA. It might be a good option. It's maybe a good option for student athletes who need to maintain eligibility would be one example. But we really, really, really wouldn't want you taking this option without talking to a counselor first. And the counselors know this, they know about this, they're prepared to talk to you about it. So I see in the chat that some of our counselors are giving some information about how to access counseling. Definitely take advantage of that. And so I think the big message is we want you to try. We want you to stay in your classes as long as possible. If you think there's a possibility of you passing, stick with it, keep trying. And then if it turns out that this was a lot, it's a lot for a lot of people, it's not a problem. You know, we're trying to make sure that that doesn't negatively impact your academic progress. So you're able to stay in, give it your best shot, try to be successful, try to make as much progress as you can. But if you can't, it's not going to hurt you. We're going to try and make sure it doesn't hurt you as best we can. And I wanted to say as an instructor, don't feel like telling your instructors that you're not doing well is bad. Reach out to them. I've been talking to my students all this month basically, and they, nobody is, if they aren't doing well, nobody's doing well. We understand. I think that don't feel like you can't tell your instructor that you're struggling. You should talk to them and then reach out to counselors. Everybody understands that this is extraordinary circumstances, and nobody feels like you not being able to, my class is English 1A. If you weren't able to make it through English 1A, I would love to have you back next semester. And I think every other instructor feels that way. So try, but we'll see you back next semester if there are extenuating circumstances.
Thanks, Rebecca. I just want to reiterate her message that, you know, we here at Reedley are here to help you students achieve whatever your goals are. You know, sometimes it's a single class that makes a difference in your life. Sometimes it's a certificate or a degree and transferring on for additional higher education opportunities. Whatever we can do to help you. And we realize, as Rebecca mentioned, and I've said in prior town halls, these are extraordinary circumstances. You know, you've in many cases got kids at home because the K-12 system is shut down. There may be other challenges that you have, and I want to reiterate what you've heard a lot this morning so far. We have very professional counseling staff here at Reedley. They can help refer you out for professional services to whoever you need to talk to. We also, I should mention, have an incredible resource that many of you may not know about in the form of the United Way. If you dial 211, the United Way counselors can also hook you up with many different resources to help get you through this crisis. So we have resources on campus, and I recommend that you touch base with them first, because they can refer you as well to things that are basically most immediate to you. But the city of Fresno, greater Fresno area, has a resource like United Way to help you as well in these very challenging times. So we have ways to help you. Don't sit at home and think that there are no options. We have options, and our responsibility is to help you reach out and basically make connections with the resources that you need under these circumstances. So please utilize what we have to help you with. I also wanted to have our professionals in student services help review the registration dates for summer and fall. We're already underway. We're already receiving registrations. But just to make sure everybody knows what's going on and the resources that are available to you, and to review the registration dates you may have already or should have already received by email. Natalie, can you jump in with me, please?
For sure. So the first thing I'll say, thank you all for being here, is make sure you check your Reedley College email address, because that's the way we communicate with you most. So if you haven't gotten an email from us, please feel free to reach out also to counseling. We want to make sure that you get those dates. You should have by this point received an email from us indicating the tier, the level in which your registration date will fall. So depending on certain priorities, depending on your academic standing, depending on a lot of different things, your dates may be a little bit different. But we did start registration the middle of last week. But between now and May 1st, there are different tiers of registration. So May 1st is actually next Friday. So that's when summer open registration starts. So that means anybody will be able to start registering at that. So have a priority registration date. You want to definitely make sure you take advantage of that for summer, as well as for fall. Fall open registration starts May 12th, which means every student gets to register at that point. But if you believe that you should have a priority registration date, something between now and May 12th, make sure you reach out to us and let us know. And I'll put my email address in the chat as well. So if you have questions, we understand that there was a lot of confusion, a lot of different dates being thrown around, but we are back on track. We are doing registration for summer and fall. We'd be happy to work with you if you're missing any kind of paperwork, if you need to complete an orientation, if you need to get a student education plan. We do have some special programs on the call right now. So if you are a TRIO student, or if you're a DSPS student, or if you're part of CalWorks, if you're part of those special programs, there are special registration dates for those programs as well. So please make sure you reach out to us. I think we're going to do our best to send reminder notifications out to you as well. So if you miss a piece of an email, or if you have some additional questions, we'll be communicating with you through your student email again, just as a reminder for what your dates are. So we're looking right now to see students that had the possibility to register between last Wednesday and yesterday, to see if there's anything that we can do to provide some additional support to folks that haven't actually done that. So if there's any other questions, I'm here.
Any questions directly for Natalie? All right, hearing none. I just wanted to thank you all for hanging in there with us. We will be getting these care dollars out to you as quickly as we can. I put on the chat room again a reminder about our food pantry event on April 28th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And please take advantage of our counseling staff to talk to Reedley College and express what your needs are. Also take this survey that I've talked about and let us know what you need that way as well, how you're doing in your classes, and what would help you get through the end of the semester. We're nearly to the finish line. We want to help you all get across that finish line and move on to whatever you need to do in the future. So we're here for you. Stephen Kodura, are you online with us this morning?
Of course, Dr. Buckley, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. It's a nice day out. I think we're going to hit 85 today. So everyone make sure they take a quick break outside and soak in some of that vitamin D. That'd be nice.
That's right. All right. So let's see if we got any questions coming in.
Yeah, so students, I want to urge you, if you have any questions, please write them down in the chat. If it's kind of a long question, just write down that you have a question. So that way we're not having everyone speak at once and we'll just call on you. We don't have any things on the chat yet, Dr. Buckley, but I had a couple things that I do want to bring up and ask on behalf of the students. But first, I do want to say yesterday was Administrative Professionals Day, and I know we have a lot of administrative professionals on this call. So I just want to thank them for all of the service that they do. They are the face of the college, and I really appreciate all their work. I know we have Serena on here, Rosa's on here, Diana's on here, Liz is on here. So all of those ladies, thank you so much for all that you do for our university and for our students. We greatly appreciate all your work. So first
As
off,
do
Dr.
I.
Buckley, yes, of course. First off, is there a possibility that we might be able to develop an FAQ? So a lot of the times, especially in these town halls, we've been getting the same questions. Are we doing online learning for fall and for summer? Are we having commencement? What are my options for pass or no pass, emergency withdrawals? Could we develop some sort of FAQ of frequently asked questions that we can send out to students or just post that just state all of those things?
Thank you for that question. In fact, on our COVID-19 webpage, we actually created an FAQ. So that's certainly where I would direct students at this point for any of those sorts of questions. And we try to post answers within the next 24 hours. So that's one way we can address students' needs. And then we also have the Digital Information Center. We are basically staffing that through about 8 p.m. every night, at least 5 days a week. And so for students that really have that question pop into their mind and they don't know who to talk to, log on and go to the Digital Information Center. And I believe that can be linked out to from the COVID-19 page, and that will help answer questions immediately as well.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and as you were saying earlier, the check-in survey, I definitely want students to do their check-in survey. I know I barely did mine this morning, but it's out there, so make sure you sign in for that. Student government elections are going to be coming out next week, so choose and elect your student leaders for next year's class. We definitely appreciate that. Be looking for an email. One of my main questions, Dr. Buckley, is starting next year, or starting for summer and fall, what is it going to look like for our textbooks? Right now, we have the bookstores closed. We have the the bookstore buyback window. But as far as getting a textbook that a professor is going to require for one of these upcoming semesters, are we going to have students come one at a time to pick out those textbooks? What happens for a student that gets an EOP&S book voucher? How is that going to look? And maybe this is more of a push that we can ask the Academic Senate to move towards more OER materials that are just going to be more valuable.
So again, thank you for that question. Let me just clarify, the bookstore is not closed. It's actually open every day. And Roy, the bookstore manager, is there. He's actually working both electronically and face-to-face. So when it comes to fall textbooks, we actually have been working with faculty to make sure that we know what those textbook requirements will be for both summer and fall. And the textbooks for summer session have already been ordered, and they'll be available for shipment directly to a student's house, or they could come to the window and pick it up if necessary. We'd prefer to actually be able to directly ship books to students so that they actually have what they need at their doorstep. It basically prevents them from the need to come on campus, and just keeps everybody practicing good social distancing for right now. But I'm hoping, and it's strictly a hope at this point, but with some scientific data behind it, that by the time we reach fall, we may start to see return to normal practices. And I'm going to hold out for that until I hear otherwise. Summer will be pretty much more of this distance education environment, where we're going to hopefully, as I mentioned, ship everything to the student or provide it electronically online But I think by the time we get to fall, hopefully the bookstore will be open and you can come on down. We may have X's on the floor and social distancing still in place. We don't know all about that just yet, but that's kind of the way things are looking right now. And by the way, as to EOPS and DSPS, Dr. Morgan, I know you're online with us. Do you want to talk about DSPS students and how they can access their books using waivers and whatnot?
Yes, DSPS students can access their books in the same way that other students do. And all books are available to them. We do have alt media services available to students online, and their books can be read to them via the Kurzweil alt media service that we have available to them as well. I do want to say students, DSPNS students, we are developing and working on a DSPNS open house that will allow you to have an opportunity just to connect with us. And a lot of you are used to coming to the office and seeing your counselor, front desk staff, and just have an opportunity to interact and be social with us. And we're working on a time where you'll be able to do that with us. We're hoping to kick that off next week. So we'll be reaching out to you to make you more aware of that also. And I just want to encourage all DSPNS students, any needs that you have, and I think the president has stated this, please reach out to your instructors, please reach out to your counselors, as well as myself. We're definitely available to support you and help you along your journey and to navigate this new online world that we're operating in. We're all making the adjustment and we're here to support you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Natalie, I'm not sure if we have anyone from EOPS online with us this morning. Do you want to address the EOPS waiver question?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that information. I'm not sure if maybe Sandra, I know she's on the line. She works closely with that program. I'm hoping maybe she's got some information. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sandra, you're muted. Sandra, you're muted, Sandra. There we go. Oh, no.
Hi, I have Mario on the line. He's in
Good.
another meeting, but he wanted to be able to address our students. Go ahead, Mario.
Very good.
Dr. Buckley.
Yes, hi, Mario.
For the fall semester is, in essence, what we do is once we determine who's eligible for the book voucher, which is the majority of students, of course, then we set up the book voucher system with the bookstore. I've yet to communicate with Follett at the bookstore to determine, of course, if we're still in shelter down mode, how we'll deliver books to students, whether mail them. But for the most part, that's not going to be a big problem relative to students having access to their book voucher.
Very good. Thanks, Mario.
I'm in another meeting, so with all due respect, it should work and function as it always does. We're just going to figure out the logistics, which I don't think will be a problem. So I apologize, but I do need to go to the other meeting. Thank you.
Thanks for stepping up, Mario. I appreciate it.
Okay. No
Thanks.
problem.
Thanks, Mario.
Thank you, Sandra. Anything else you'd like to offer, Sandra?
We have our SSS grant aid scholarships that are being distributed through the financial aid office. So we're working with them right now. Students should be receiving those grant aid scholarships within the next 2 weeks.
Very good. Thank you. By the way, with regard to the comments I made earlier about CARES funding, you will be, as students, receiving an email from the college regarding the distribution of those funds. So we'll give you heads up before basically it either gets transferred into your bank account or before you receive a check in the mail. So we'll have more information for you. Just wanted to comment again that some of the criteria seem to change almost daily coming out of the government. So we're trying to adjust and make sure that we've got everything dialed in before we basically distribute the CARES money when it arrives. So you'll be hearing from us, as Sandra was saying, with a formal communication before that money goes out as well. Okay, Stephen, any other questions we should address?
Yeah. So actually, I had two follow-up questions to that. I just wanted to make sure, so the ELPNS program, if they do qualify for a book voucher, is there a way that they don't need to go into the bookstore and they can still have those books mailed to them, just like in any other student that would purchase a book?
Yeah, to the best of
And
my
then on top
recollection.
of that,
Go ahead.
okay. And then on top of that, are increasing student safety. As we get closer, you know how students are, we like to put things off. If we go in one of the first days before the semester opens and all of a sudden there's 25 people at the bookstore trying to get books, how are we going to stop that, you know, and try and make that flow? Is there a way we might be able to sign up for like an appointment beforehand to go into the bookstore, get our books, and then come out?
We can certainly pass that idea along to Roy and see what he'd like to do. I think at the very least, it's more or less like I alluded to earlier, that I believe we may already have the X's taped onto the sidewalk, so you know there's that 6-foot distance between people that would line up for the window or access to the bookstore. It would be very much like going to the supermarket right now. But I think if we can minimize the number of students that have to do that, that would be ideal. So I'm going to say again that your book vouchers should work just like any other method of payment. And to the best of my recollection, last time I had a conversation with Roy, we should be able to drop ship directly to a student's house. So just like ordering from Amazon, you know, our bookstore can ship directly to students as far as I know, no matter the payment circumstance.
Awesome. I just dropped in a chat from Roy saying students can come to the bookstore and order an ebook with a voucher or any other method of payment. Students can still go online and order that same book also. So just make sure that we're doing that. We have a question from Arnold. He says, if fall becomes a lifted order, will the school have certain stages of opening the campus to be safe, or will it just go back to full normal program?
Well, as you've heard me say in prior town halls, this is the era of contingency planning, which means we have probably 4 or 5 different ways we're looking at doing what we could do or have to do. So the answer to that is yes. What I've talked about with both our units for instruction and student services are the ideas of, for example, maybe keeping lectures online in a virtual environment while we reopen our face-to-face labs. That would be one scenario. Or even having to go back to that scenario if the virus becomes prevalent again as we get into the fall semester. So we have these contingencies that we're looking at and trying to figure out how to keep people safe. We are deploying all sorts of protective materials through the campus right now. We're installing far more dispensers for hand sanitizer. We, just so you know, have actually a list of what we call essential personnel, and you named some of them a moment ago, Stephen. Our administrative personnel are basically doing great work in the campus right now, behind the scenes, keeping things running. Some are working from home, some are there face to face, but the point is we have a lot of people doing a lot of different things, trying to minimize the number of people on campus, but at the same time, those that have to be there are doing the work to keep the campus running. And that includes cutting checks, as you heard, you know, sending out potentially financial aid checks to students and other very important functions. We also, I should mention, actually have a pilot running right now. We have an FAA certified program in aviation. We have aviation maintenance mechanic. Where students are very close to finishing their program and they were not able to simulate any of their work. The FAA wouldn't allow that. So we have taken special measures to actually take that lab and split it in half so that we only have 10 people in a section right now, basically participating on campus in a very limited pilot status to see how this is going to work. They're using masks and gloves and social distancing. And we're using them, if you will, to find out what works and what doesn't work in that laboratory environment, so we can basically build on that in the fall. We also have our wildland fire program back, working with our instructors both here on campus and actually up in the forests, working with CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service. So we have a couple of very limited programs in these, what are categorized as essential programs. And those are helping us learn a great deal about what we may have to do come fall.
Awesome, thank you. So we've been having some of the chat dialogue is about the DSPNS open house. Dr. Morgan alluded that it's going to be sometime next week, Wednesday or Thursday. So students be looking for that in your email if you're part of the DSPNS program. Dr. Morgan, was there anything else you wanted to say about that? I saw he unmuted.
Nothing other than it'll be for 1 hour, and I think we're going to do it weekly or twice a month. I'm not sure yet. I have some of my team members online. If they want to chime in, please do so. But this is definitely an endeavor on our part. Linda Ryder is actually leading this, and we really want to reach out to our students. We realized that our office was a place where they could congregate and interact, and that's been taken away. So now in this virtual world, we're trying to recreate that by having this Zoom room or DSPNS town hall or open house, so they have those opportunities to connect with us. We want our students to really know that we're here to support them and that you're not alone. And even though the campus is closed, we're not closed off from one another. Does anyone on my team want to add any other comments? Thumbs up. Thank you, Linda.
Could I add to that, Dr. Morgan, that
Yes.
there are a lot of student services on campus that are still open. The Reading Writing Center, the Math Center, the Tutorial Center, the library. I hope students are aware that all those services are open for business, even if it is over Zoom. And the tutors are working, and you can get peer help as well as reaching out to your instructor, reaching out to DSPS, all that. So I hope students know that.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
And thank you, Dr. Morgan.
All right, so some of the other dialogue in the chat is about registration dates. So we have, as many students are finding out, there's different registration dates for different students, whether you're transferring from high school, transferring from another college, whether you're on academic probation. So if they're unsure of when their registration date is, or if they haven't received an email on when their registration date is, what's the best place, or who is the best person to reach out to, best department to reach out to? Where can they find all that information?
So Natalie, I'm going to ask you to field that one, please.
I'd say admissions and records is the best place to start, because they can give information on if there's holds or anything like that that are associated with that. Oftentimes they'll direct them directly to a special program that they're associated with, or to counseling. But I would say admissions and records is the best place. I'll put the link to their contact information.
And Natalie, how do we typically distribute registration dates to high school graduates?
From what I understand, it's done in a similar process. It's through the Reg to Go process. And Serena put some dates in there as well, specifically for the high school, the brand new students. But it is also.
I think we lost you, Natalie. Are you still on with us?
I hope so. I think so.
We didn't hear the tail end of your comment.
Oh, sorry. It's actually done through the same process. Through their registration dates will come through their.
Okay, well, we lost you again, but I think what you're trying to tell us is that basically we do communicate directly with the high school students, so they should be checking their email predominantly. But if they have trouble, to call A&R, and they will be directed to a resource that can help them. That's
awesome. And if they also have yeah, and Sandra, thank you for your comment. If you also have Web Advisor, access to your Web Advisor, it is one of the tabs on there on the left-hand side to go in and check that out. The other question that we have, it's one of our last questions. So if you do have any more questions, students, please drop them now. Fees. So we have our fees for summer and our fall. Are the fees going to look any different? Are they going to be looking the same? And is the business service office or business office open right now for students to come in and pay those fees in cash, or is everything going to be handled online?
Well, we prefer that students basically pay within 24 hours of receiving their billing in terms of the registration process and enrollment process. In terms of face-to-face, I don't have a good answer for that one. So who do we have online from our business office?
Hi, Dr. Buckley. This is Melanie. At this time, the business office is only here 1 day a week, so we are not currently accepting any face-to-face transactions. That may change depending on what we hear from, if restrictions are lifted. We could potentially look at having a limited time in the business office where they would accept cash payments. We are asking, just go online to your WebAdvisor and try to pay through WebAdvisor for any transactions right now. So, but we will keep you posted as we hear about restrictions being lifted about the ability to come back on campus.
Very good. So the general answer is we would prefer everyone pay online if at all possible. And we'll have more information available as far as face-to-face. We're still working, to be honest, on the issue of paying for parking permits. I don't think we're where we want to be on that particular topic right now. It's still basically scheduled to be an on-ground payment, and I want to see if we can't move that online as well, as much as humanly possible. So more to come on that in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome, thank you. Last question is, when's the deadline to take an exam for a class for the credit by examination? So when you take that class and you have just the credit by exam, what's the deadline for that?
I don't know that off the top of my head. Dale, are you out of your other meeting yet? Are you with us?
I am. I'm going to answer that in the chat. So give me just a couple minutes. I don't want to misrepresent this. So I'm going to check the regs and I'll answer it in the chat.
Very good. So we'll have and by the way, for those that haven't done a town hall with us before, we typically post the chat room notes and a recording of this town hall so you can actually review it later. So. All right. Anything else?
Nothing in the chat. Oh, will there be another student town hall meeting?
Yes. In fact, we've established a calendar for these. What we'll probably want to do is post those dates to the COVID-19 website so you can check up and see when they're going to be happening. We've had good participation and we want to maintain contact with our students. So if you like this, please be aware we'll be doing this through the end of the spring semester. We may even do it through the summer as well. So if you find it useful, please let us know. We're always interested to know what the best times of day and the days of the week are to basically make the most contact with our students. So help us out by giving us some feedback on that. Also, give us some suggestions on what you want to know about in advance, and we'll be happy to address that up front as we get going with each town hall.
Dr. Buckley?
Yes. Hi,
This is
Mario.
Mario Gonzalez. Again, I apologize. I was in another meeting, but just to reiterate, the book voucher process, I don't foresee any problems with respect to ensuring students have their books. So again, I just need to communicate with Follett to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, Roy actually logged into the chat room and agreed with you, so everything should be fine.
Okay, thank you. Sorry again.
Appreciate your coming back in. Very, very nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did. And I didn't want to say that there was any problem going to be had. I just wanted to make sure that if a student didn't need to go to the campus and still be able to have their bookstore voucher on file with the bookstore, that was going to be made available. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to clarify that. That's good.
Awesome. And then Natalie, thank you for dropping. We have the admission and records. Their contact information is now in the chat. We will be getting back for the credit by examination information later. And I believe that's it. I want to say the student town hall schedule, our next one should be next week, April 28th at 1 p.m., I believe. Serena, could you correct me if I'm wrong?
Give me a minute to pull up my calendar.
Okay.
And while she is, I just want to mention, we're also doing a special event, special town hall for student athletes next week to try and address some of their special needs in terms of everything from what the conditions will look like for fall sports to the issue of their status and those sorts of things. So.
Yeah,
That'll
and that's
be-
going to be April 29th at 6 p.m. Reach out if you're a student athlete to your coach, and be looking forward to that. That'll be a town hall specifically for student athletes and the student athletes questions that they might have, whether on eligibility, academic standing, anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the current catalog has information on credit by examination, page 26, and that can be accessed at the Reedley College website. Next student town hall is the 28th at 1 p.m. And I do not see any other questions, Dr. Buckley. I appreciate, again, as always, your time and your effort to keep the students informed. We appreciate all that you do and all the faculty that is here on this call with us also. So thank you so much.
Well, let me just take a moment to thank you, Stephen, because I've had just a great pleasure working with you this year. You're an incredible talent. You have represented students so well, not only just at this college, but the district and the state level. So let me commend you for all the work that you do. And I know that you have a job on top of everything else. So the amount of time you commit to Reedley College is just amazing. So thank you for all the work you've done and what you continue to do.
Thank you, Dr. Buckley. I greatly appreciate that.
Okay, we'll see everybody soon. Thank you for participating. Have a good day.
Yep. See you next week, 28th at 1 p.m. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.